There we go. Get myself off mute. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name is Digital Dragon, and I am a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. Welcome on in, Subsector, Creatix Brick. Good morning, good morning. 491 Phantom, Timor. Welcome on in. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, family drama stuff going on. Gotta love it. Always on a Saturday morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Coffee time, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Yes, thank you for posting that, 491 Phantom. We had some good time last night with Free Heathen. His package of the Bubblegum Dragon showed up, and he was all excited and opened it up and may have dropped some colorful language in that clip, so just be forewarned. I see you there, Free Heathen. I see you here. I saw that you were lurking earlier, so I knew you were sitting out there. You were so excited. We will have to get together. Oh, no worries, Free Heathen. No worries at all. We will have to get together sometime later today. Of course, off of stream, my stream or your stream, so that we can get Bubblegum Dragon set up for you. So, yeah, we'll definitely work on getting that set up. Excuse me. So today, we're going to get going again on the Chewy build. We did get the parts in that we needed, namely our deck panel and such. Now, interestingly enough, deck panel, which normally the deck panel and the back panel are black, this is clear polycarbonate. So I could possibly leave the plastic on one side so it gives that frosted look, but I still don't know about leaving the plastic in on the bottom side since the bed's going to be sitting right up above it. I don't know what it would do to the plastic, this plastic film. So we'll probably still take that off, and we're just going to have a clear view through the bottom deck panel to the electronics. It'll be awesome. Good morning, Subsector. How's it going? Yeah, so funny enough, that box that that the printer was mailed in, it's the same Pelican case that KB3D uses to ship around his V02 to the shows and stuff. And good morning, Dazzy Wazzy. And so, of course, Free Heathen, he'll give you the information and stuff to mail that back. But the yeah, that Pelican case was really nice, and pulling a couple of the layers of foam out so it makes it easier to grab the printer and pull it out works a lot better. But yeah, I tried, I told you I was going to stuff some goodies in there for you, so hopefully the Raspberry Pi Zeros and stuff will help out in some other projects down the road. I'm sure you will find a good use for them. And I decided I didn't want to ship you like all the extra bits and gubbins, like all the extra screws and stuff. Excuse me. Because that just adds extra weight and more chance for things to move around within the printer, which I really didn't want. But yeah, I'm sure you've got plenty of screws and stuff anyhow. And if not, we can send you another care package. Free Heathen. Something else came in today. Well, not today, but the other day. See if I can get this to show up. So this is a hermit crab. And there's two different types. There's a standard, which requires lots of wires, and the CAN bus. This is the CAN bus. So this would be the 4 wires to the the single plate that mounts on the X gantry. And then you would have plates that you mount all your tool head stuff on. And what this allows you to do is hot swap tool heads out on standard printers like an Ender or anything that's kind of like an Ender. You can use it on the Ender 3 and Ender 3 clones. You can use them on the Ender 5 and the Ender 5 clones. That's the one you want to use. You have it. Did you get one? If you did, awesome. So I planned on using that potentially on, well, I have a Micro Swiss NG that I was going to put on the TiVo Tarantula when I redo that. But I was also thinking about possibly putting the Hermit Crab on it and using that, or just getting another Ender 3 platform that I can use as a test bed platform for some things. So yeah, it should be able to go on the S8 without any problem. Because my understanding is the Hermit Crab will mount to whatever existing plate that you have and then run it that way. And I know when I decided to order this, I was talking to one of the guys at the Big Tree Tech booth at IRF, and he says, yeah, he runs the CAN version on his printer, which is, I think, some type of Ender 3 variant. And he goes, it's just, I can swap tool heads in and out all day long. I was like, well, rock on. And you can have fully independent setups. So you don't even have to worry about, well, this is a standard, you know, like a V6, and this is a Rapido or a Volcano nozzle or what have you, because on these plates, you could also have the auto bed leveling sensors attached, so that you pop one off, you pop the new one on, it doesn't matter as long as you have the ABL attached to it, because your ABL is going to account for the difference in the tool head size, right? Once you get every plate set up. So it just becomes easier. So yeah. So it's a very nice little system here. We'll open it up and we'll show it off a little bit here before we get into the Chewy build, because I know I've now piqued Free Heathen's interest. We'll switch over the camera view here. So I'm recovering from eye surgery really well. I am realizing that the eye drops that they give me, which is a compound eye drop. So normally they would give you 3 different types of eye drops. So you'd have 3 different eye drops that you're taking at different times. I got the compound one, which is all of it mixed, which makes life easier. But I'm finding that it gives me, you know, like I'll say the eye boogies that get in around your tear duct in your eye. So other than that, a lot of that pulsating that I was getting in my peripheral vision is gone now. So that's good. So we get a nice little user's manual. And so right here in the center pane is where you can see how it's putting the back plate and just mounting it directly to the back plate of like an Ender. So it's a 2-plate system. So you have the main back plate that'll mount to your carriage. And it should just be a depressed fit. Yep. So this would be the main back plate that mounts to your carriage. So you'll have belt holes and you'll have mounting holes in here, and this will mount to your carriage. And then this is your actual tool head board. So you'll have your USB that comes in, and this does CAN bus over USB. So this is the USB micro. So this is one you would use to do all your configurations, and then this is the CAN bus one. and it's got a spring clip here, and this is how you detach the spring to pop off your mounting plates. Now your mounting plates have plug for the motor, this would be for a probe, so this would be set for like a BL Touch or the CR Touch, your motor and something else. And then you've got various other pinouts that you can use on the side. Well, for the hot end, fans, part cooling fan, and thermistor. So this would be your hot end fan, part cooling fan, and then thermistor down at the bottom. Your BL Touch or whatever probe, your motor, and then this side over here, I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at the manual. But this locator pins and then this hook is what's getting captured in your build plate here by this center piece, right? So it would just line up, push on, and it's a really rock solid connection. It's not moving anywhere. And it really doesn't add too much to the bulk from the, pushing anything out from the front. So pretty nice, pretty sturdy. And like I said, this particular kit comes with 3 plates, so you can do 3 different hot end setups on here. Good morning, Royal Nomi. How are you doing today? Hope everything is going well and you're feeling well. We're just kind of going through a hermit crab setup, which is kind of like an interchangeable tool head setup from BQ. And I knew that Free Heathen was interested in that. And if you've got the older one, then it just means rather than the CAN bus with the single USB connector going to it, you'd have multiple wires in an umbilical. Okay, so where we left off on the Chewy build, it's like, that's a weird view. There we go. We'll bring that over here, and then we will bring up Firefox. Make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so where we left off on the Chewy build is we had our motors mounted, well, our drive gears mounted. We had our Z-rails and we did our idlers, so we kind of jumped around a little bit. We have the deck panel now, so we can add the deck panel in. And I'm going to have to take off 2 of these to slide that deck panel in. And we're going to need to build our actual Z motors. And then we'll be able to get those installed fairly quickly and easily. So we're going to start with our motor mounts. Now, I think this is an older version of the motor mounts. The newer one isn't a full square bracket. It's just the L-shaped bracket, less plastic. The big thing you want to check out is look at the top and how the top goes, because this is where your cam lever is going to go in. Let me get the right one. Yeah. So this is where your tension and cam lever is going to go in. And so it's just pay attention to this and how it mounts on that motor, specifically where your motor wires should be coming out of. So the depressed end and then you'll have this thicker piece right here that goes all the way to the front. This is the side that you want your motors to come out, and you'll have two that'll be done this way and two that'll be mirrored. So you just need to pay attention to that and mount your motors in the right direction. And we're going to use M3x8 screws for these. So we'll grab a few of those out of the bin. And once again, our motor connections coming out to the left, which means that's the side that our long lever is going to be in. We'll just line these up and get a few of these put in. So yeah, the eye's doing good. Not a lot of pain, surprisingly. Like I figured, okay, I'm going to have to do some aspirin here and there. I haven't taken aspirin since I've been home. The biggest thing is when the eye starts, I'll say, hurting a little bit, I just close my eyes and or lay down and I shut the lights off. I am finding that I'm still a little bit light sensitive. So when I go out, and if I go out to drive later today, if it's during the day, they do have some sunglasses they gave me post-op that are really cool because they can go over my glasses completely. And when I go to get Miss Dragon later tonight, it'll be like 7, 8 o'clock at night, so it'll be dark anyhow. Okay, so that's what your motor's going to look like. Motor's here, the longer L end over here, and then you'll have your cam lever on the opposite side from the motor input. So we'll do two like that, and then we'll do two in the other direction. The Heathen, how did you sleep last night? Oh, thanks, Nomi. Yeah, like I said, it's I'll say it was one of the slightly more disconcerting surgeries or procedures I've had. Simply because you're not fully knocked out, so you can feel what they're doing. I mean, it's not painful per se, but you can just feel a little bit of the tugging, and they're talking to you, saying, "Okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. Open your eye or what have you." The other procedure I had that was sort of like that, or I will say at least the one that I remember feeling some of, was when they were checking my arteries and whether or not I needed to have stents after I had my heart scare. That was a little weird because they came in through the wrist, and I had like ghost feelings about something snaking up my arm for a while after that. But yeah, surgery went well. I had the the right eye done this time, and I will have the left eye done on Wednesday. So Evil Diesel was kind enough to play driver for me for the right eye, but Mrs. Dragon will be back for the left eye. So like I said, I go pick her up at the airport tonight, and she'll take me on Wednesday to have the left eye done. Yeah, the heart casts are trippy. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I was out the whole time, but I could feel, like it was snaking, and it's just weird feeling. But I'll do the same thing, like whenever they have to do an IV into my hand. I feel those for what feels like weeks afterwards, and it just drives me insane. It's like the ghost pain. Okay, so we have our motor mounts installed. Next up, we need to install our deck panel. So we'll bring the printer back up and we'll flip it over. We need to understand which is the front and the back, and that should line up with our rails. I really don't have a good, maybe if I come over here to the main screen, you'll see better what I'm doing here. Not necessarily, that didn't help. All right, let me raise the other camera up some so I can get an angle. There we go. So your rails go front to back. You kind of do need to know which one's front and back. So which way that you marked them. I think this was rear. And it doesn't really matter at the moment which one's really front or rear. So in this case, the front's towards me. And like I said, I'm going to have to take off at least 2 of these so I can slide the panel in. And to make it easier on myself, I'm going to do the 2 that are closest to me. And this is just going to allow me to slide in that plate underneath the motor mount. Normally you'd have that deck plate in there before you put these on, but we kind of skipped ahead a little bit. Keep going. Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is they prepped me for that one. And then they said, we'll do that if we can't go in through the arm. And I was like, really? Like, great. Because they're going to go in through an area that's maybe about the size of a quarter, but they shave like, that much. You avoided them at all costs. Yeah, doing the stents. So yeah, I am a little worried about whether or not this plastic would work well. So I am going to take the plastic off. That was probably fairly loud. Sorry about that. And once again, the front is towards me. So the thing that we need to be cognizant of is the back is going to have a hole back here for the wires for the bed to feed through and a cutout in the back center. So that becomes the back, and we just need to be cognizant that that is heading towards the back. And then we'll need our den rails and some M5 screws and T-nuts. So we're going to use some M5 by 10s. And now that we've got our deck plate sitting in here, we can take our rolling T-nuts and drop them in here, which will make our lives a little bit easier on getting them lined up. And we need our den rails, which I think are actually inside the box still. So let me grab those out back here. And of course, one looks like it's cut fine and the other is not. So we will have to cut one of these down. What I will do is kind of measure it out, mark it, and then I will cut it off stream and add the second one off stream, because I don't really want to go and cut things on stream here. One, it'll be loud, and two, it'll just be real easy to go downstairs afterwards, cut it, and come back up. So one is cut well enough. The other one I will have to cut before I can install it. You know how much stuff I can fall over later. We're going to use some M5 by 10 button head cap screws to hold these in place. And notice that your bed rails go front to back and your den rails go side to side. On the LDO kits, they actually have the den rails going front to back as well. I think this just provides some extra support to the deck bracket by doing it the opposite direction like we have here. And what is going on and why won't that go in? That's weird. That one's going in, but the other one's not wanting to for whatever reason. And so what I'm going to do here is try and align the den rail at the rear end here. There we go. We got the line up finally. Meaning there's a little bit of adjustment in these holes. So I'm going to line this one up with it kind of all the way back. And then we'll work on doing the same thing on these front ones, maybe pulling them all the way front. Now what I'm going to do at the moment, since I don't have a DIN rail in there, is, do I have a small piece of DIN rail that I can put in there at the moment? I was hoping I had a small piece of DIN rail visible that I could use to put in there just for the moment to keep that deck panel from flopping around on us. There it is. I know I had a small piece. Now the question is this is big enough to at least go across those two? And it is. So we're just going to put this here for a temporary, one, to keep those T-nuts from sliding around, and then two, just to provide a temporary hold on this deck panel. And then I'll go and cut that other DIN rail after this stream and get it installed. And that'll just provide a little bit of rigidity to this deck panel. There we go. Yeah, definitely avoid those at all costs. They're no fun. Then we'll put our foot back on. Our foot, aka Z drive. And we'll be able to mount our Z motors. Okay, so deck panel put in place. We've mounted our feet. Now we're going to go ahead and mount our motors. And what I want to see is, does it tell me? Doesn't tell me which one we're going to start with. The biggest thing to note here is when you're mounting your motors, which is great because it shows you a different orientation on that motor, is the cam piece, the cutout where your cam's going to be, goes towards the motor. So in this case, it would be something like this. Okay. Let me see about bringing you guys in closer with a different camera. See if I can get you in here. Yeah. So you've got your cam piece. The cam piece goes towards the motor base. And all you're going to do is you're going to hook the belt on the pulley and basically rotate it into place here. and it'll sit like this. Now you need to get two of your M5 roll-in T-nuts, and they should go one with the hole facing this way, one with the hole facing the other way, and you'll be able to get these slid into position. And then you'll take an M5 by 10 and go on the outer edge first. And these, once again, are our button head cap screws. You're going to go on the outside edge first, and you're going to just tighten it. You're not going to, I guess, snug it. You're not going to tighten it all the way down. Then you're going to take one of your cams. So this is kind of what we've got right here, right? We've got one screw in on this side, no screw here. We're going to take our cam and slide it underneath. Slide it underneath, which is easier to do when you're not doing it one-handed, so that the hole lines up. And then we're going to put a, sorry about that, we're going to put a screw in there. Screw it down. Once again, you're just getting it to bite. You don't want to tighten it down. And then right here is the automatic tensioner. We're going to take this cam and we're going to rotate it. And as we rotate, you're going to see that that motor moves out some. And that's what locks that motor in for tension. Now you can just tighten these two screws. I'm just going to make sure that we're lined up horizontally in the front here. I think I had a little bit too much tension on these screws. So shut that back off, move it over. Back there. And what I'll do is I'll rotate this around a tad bit. So hopefully you guys can see what I do on this next one. Here. Once again, this puts the wire for your motor going towards the inside. We're going to need a couple of our M5 roll-in T-nuts. Hole towards the foot, then hole away from the foot in your roll-in T-nut. You're going to take your motor, loop it around on that belt, and just kind of line it up there. And then you'll grab something that you can move your T-nuts around with, so you can line up your T-nuts. We're going to put one M5 by 10. We'll call it towards the center. And you're just going to get it started. You just want the screw to bite. Then you're going to take your cam lock. Slide it in underneath the motor on the other side so that your holes line up. Another M5 by 10. Once again, you want it loose, right? You don't want it tight. And then you're going to use the cam to lock it in, and that sets the tension on your belt. And then I try and make sure that the front edge is straight, and you will lock these down. And it gives you nice tight belts. Check the rotation to make sure that your belt's not climbing all over the place and not rubbing up against an edge. If it is, you can loosen your pulley up and adjust your pulley so that they're going right in the middle. Now we'll take this and flip it around 90 degrees and do the other two motors. Kind of a quiet bunch this morning. Everybody still trying to wake up on this nice Saturday? Anybody, how you doing? Yeah, I need more coffee. I got you there. Got you there. Unlock that over. Tighten things down. Get the running of our belt. Changing your yard flags. Okay. Trying to get them ready for the Christmas season. Nomi? Give me 1 second here. So this workbench is a Craftsman workbench. I got it off of Amazon, and I'll give you a better look at it here in a second, Mini Bice. You hate changing belts on printers, Royal Nomi? Not too bad. It depends on the printer, though. Can be kind of a pain in the butt at times. Okay. There we go. That stuff's set up. Lock everything in place. We've already done our angry idlers. And we started putting our bed together. I do have the silicone heater piece. I'll probably install that off stream. That's not that big of a deal. We're not going to build the sex bolt or the end stop because we're going to use tap on this. And we will not install the bed just yet, just because that adds added mass to this. And right now I'm under a weight restriction on what I can lift because of the eye surgery. So we will hold off on that. We're going to take this and set it back down on the ground. And we will find the parts that we're going to need to do our gantry. Looks like that. That looks like that. This is remaining motor stuff. AB drive units. I'm going to switch the camera while I bring this back down to earth. Yeah, I always cut my belts long. Okay. Cut your belts long. Make sure that they, do the interleave of the teeth. And that way, you see me do that where I interleave the teeth of the belts. Make them match, cut them off so that they're the same tooth length on one side, left or right. That's your starting side. Make sure you've got the same number of teeth showing on that side. Run your belt. And then the best thing I've found is to use an app. And I use Sound Spectrum on my iPhone. I use an app called Sound Spectrum. And what that enables you to do is start seeing the sound spectrum, and you'll put it with your mic close to the belt, strum your belt, and you're looking for about 110 hertz. And that's on both A and B, or both sides of the belt, to make sure that they're the same tension. Of course, I'm talking about on a Core XY system there. If you're doing if you're doing like an Ender 3, should be the same thing in the fact that you would get, you want about 150 millimeters between the pulley and the attachment point of the belt. So on an Ender 3, you'd measure 150 millimeters from the attachment on the right side of the carriage to the adjustment pulley, and then strum the belt holding that phone up there, and you're looking for 110 hertz. If it's And that's why you always start with your belt adjustment knob fully loose. Hand tighten that belt, and then you can slightly tighten that adjustment knob until you're strumming at about 110 with that 150 millimeter gap, and that'll set your belt. And that sets it, I want to say it's about 2 pounds per inch, I think is what that sets it to about. I have used one of those before, Royal Nomi, but the thing is you got to be careful and make sure you follow the instructions, because different filament types have different properties, and then different print settings. Like if you don't use the same amount of walls and infill, then you're going to get a different reading. Okay, and so mini mice. Once again, these are Craftsman garage tables. I got them off of Amazon. Right, if you go to the craftsman.com website, you're not going to find them. I got these off Amazon. They come in single packs and I think 2 packs. And so these are the same ones that I'm using behind me here to hold all my printers. It gives me 2 levels, and I went specifically with these because, as you can see, my ceilings are angled. If I had straight ceilings, there was a Craftsman version that had three levels. That would have been better. I almost wish I had straight ceilings in this room, because I could have run like 3 levels, but I don't have that, or at least 2 levels with storage above for filaments and stuff, or I could have had filament up that was running down. Like I could have had some rep racks up there to feed into an MMU or something. But these Craftsman, they gave me the right deck heights. This is right about waist height, so it's good for a workbench as well, which is why I'm using one of them here as a workbench. And it's standard, what I would say, like Home Depot type stuff, just not that heavy duty. Where you've got your H frames on the side and the girders that mount between the H frames, and then you've got steel runners that go across that provide support to the deck. So there's a wire shelf at the bottom, and then a top deck plate, which is about like 1/4 inch whatever with melamine on it. So that's kind of what I've been using. Hey Pez Liz, you're watching from bed. Did something weird to your jaw and working through some major... Okay. Well, be careful. Don't hurt yourself. No need to hurt yourself. But get feeling better, Pez Liz. Yeah, whenever you're dealing with printed tools, you just have to make sure that you use the same type of material. So PLA, not... And you got to be careful. It's not... is it PLA, PLA Plus, PLA Pro, because each one of those have slightly different properties. Definitely not PLA CF, because that's going to be way more rigid and it's just going to throw off the calibration. So we're going to start working on our AB motors, or apparently our front idlers too. So let me grab some parts out here and see what we've got. AB motors, our idler pieces, and for whatever reason I've got 2 of each. So Chewy gave me some extra parts in case something's messed up. We've got our other idler pieces. V-mounts. Why are those V-bolt mounts? Put those away and these away for now. Okay. I think we got the parts that we need. We're going to need to do some heat set inserts. So we'll get those started and out of the way. Let me grab my heat set insert tool. This is a stealth press. You may see an advertisement for it pop up, or I think, let me see, did I do a stealth press command? I think I did. Bang. Stealth press. There you go. It's no longer pre-order. You can straight up order it from KB3D, and that would be all the random parts. So the screws, the linear rail, the key back, and stuff. You would still need to provide your own printed parts and soldering iron. I believe that he has the TS100s live on the site. I think he said they should be there today. Let me check real fast. He has the Revo Roto extruders that are out new. The LDO, so the Revos are out. Those aren't pre-order, those are out. Let's jump over here real fast. So some of the new stuff that KB3D has out. They've got the Revo Roto extruders in stock. You've got both a, okay, I need to make sure I wasn't signed in because I get different pricing when I'm signed in. So you've got both a standard version and a sensor version. The sensor version is a little bit more expensive, but the sensor version not only has the built-in filament runout sensor, but it also adds a temperature sensor that gets mounted in this metal heatsink area here to make sure that the fan would also get a 3-lead screw or 3-wire fan. So it has a tachometer. So basically what those sensors are doing is making sure that the fan hasn't died and that the fan's working appropriately. So those are out there for order now. The LDO Smart Orbiter 3 is on pre-order. The Leviathans are available now. The Vitali CNC tap, which is a different type of CNC tap, is out. I thought he was saying that the the stealth press kits, hardware kits are out there. Okay, well, I guess not. I thought he had the, he said the TS100s were in, but maybe they're not. Maybe he was trying to get them in. So he should have them in soon. Trademark soon. Okay, so our stealth press is heated up. We're going to need a couple of our heat set inserts here. And once again, I've got 2 sets of the other brackets, so I just need to pick and choose which ones I'm going to use. We'll use these 2. They look to be probably the nicest prints. And we're going to come through the thicker side. And when I say thicker side, you'll have, so this is the bottom part when it prints, and then you'll have a larger, thicker piece. So we're going to come through the top side of that. So you'll simply get your heat set lined up in that hole there. Bring your stealth press down. Line it up. Let it start warming up. Apply a little bit of downward pressure and sink it down flush with the front or flush with the printed part. And the nice thing I like about this is you get a nice good 90 degree to the printed surface. So if you're trying to do it by hand, I don't know about you, but I normally get it off to some degree. And then I wind up having to use a flat surface to make sure it's perfectly flat and flush. This makes life so much easier. You get a nice flush heat set press. Here's your X-ray. We'll set them aside. Now, does it tell me to do the other ones? No, it tells me to build it first. So while I have my heat press out here, give me 1 second. I'm going to scroll forward a little bit because there's one of these sides I need to add some heat insets into, if I remember right. I'm kind of wondering if this is an outdated version of the manual. Because these two holes here, I believe, get heat set inserts. These for pulleys, motor mounts. And these would be the heat set inserts to mount your cable chain onto. I have not subsector used the PF makes. I just use the tone tensioning method. Okay, so we'll get those two set up there. And one thing I'm going to check. Yeah, that would be the issue, is I have an outdated version of the manual. That's what we were using. There we go. AB drive and idlers. That would be the two inserts that I just put in there. We've got our two inserts that we just put in there. And why do I get the feeling Yeah, one low. No, we did that right. Now I tend to hold off on putting the M5 nuts in here because I find that it's not a rock solid fit and they tend to drop out anyhow. So we'll see how tight his tolerances were. They may stay in there. Normally I fight with these falling out as I'm trying to build it, and so I normally wait, but those look like they'll sit in there. So heat press, heat press. I'm going to go ahead and shut this off and get it out of the way so I don't burn myself again. Yeah, I'm living vicariously by all the pictures of Smurf. You think it's only one hole, you're going to build one, see how it works. Exactly. I mean, build one, test it out, and like I said, I would tension it by hand using the tone method and then check it with your tension meter and see how close they are. And if they're close, you know you're good and you can go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to kind of grab our part and match it to the manual and orientation. We're going to take an M5 by 40 socket head cap screw. And it's going to go in through the slot. Just like that. And then we're going to build our idler. We're going to need some of our bearings. Could be enough there that I just threw out on the table. We're going to need our shims. So we're going to go shim, flange towards the shim, flange away from the shim, and another shim. That makes your bearing stack. Okay. Then it says to put the top on. You got to find the right top piece. And you do have the keyed pieces that will go in. So it makes it easier to get these lined up. And now that you've got the keyed shim in there, you would take the idler tensioning mechanism, and we're going to get that sort of in place. And then the intent is to pull this out, and then it goes in from the top. It helps put the right one on there. So you're going to pull this out, hopefully keep it straight so that you don't mess up your bearing stack. Which is what I just did. Get your part in line, and then you'll come back down from the top. Now what I'm going to do real fast is use an M3 bolt and try and get everything lined back up because I just knocked everything cattywampus. Yes, that kept everything in place. That has been the first time I've gotten that to do that without making everything jank. So we're going to screw that down in there. And it's meant to move, so don't crank it all the way down until it's so tight that it can't slide. Just get it snug, and then this piece should be able to slide to and fro. A little tight, but that's fine. It's just needing to kind of get worked out some. Okay. So that's one pulley bracket. And yes, I know that there is just one color here. This is Chewy's color scheme that he desired. So we're rolling with that. And we're going to take that M3 by 40. This is the M3 by 40, right? No, it's M3 by 50s. Once M3 by 40. These. And it's going to go in from the front with a washer. And you're running it through this piece and then through the brass inset that we put in and then into a pocket. And so once again, you're going to want to make sure that it's basically all the way in that. You want it all the way back here. So if you need to, loosen it back up while applying some tension to get it all the way to the back, because that's when you run your belt, that gives you the most amount of room to do your tensioning. Okay. Yeah, so once again, normally, so these would be an accent piece. So these would be one color and then this would be a different color. Chewy's decided that he wants his entire gantry system to be the purple. So that's why I'm building it this way. So I got one side done. It wants us to do the check. So we're going to be looking at this from this angle. So this is high. The screws at the top here. We've got the rut row. Well, that sucks. So you'll notice that, so this is at the top, this is at the top, but you'll notice that this is an M5 and an M3, where I should have two M5s at the top and the bottom should have the M5 and the M3. So I did this wrong, and I'll have to take it back apart and follow and do the right thing when we rebuild it. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that. Yeah, so the difference is the direction of this centerpiece. So this will work fine. This will be the B that we're getting ready to do, but I need to take this off and swap it out with this one so that my bolt's at the top instead of the M5 nut. So it should still be doable if I can get this out. And I just lost it. Darn it. Okay. Well, let's try this again. So we start off with the M5 and the M3. So notice the, let me make this a little bit bigger. And that was my problem, is M5 hole and an M3 hole. That's the bottom. Put the M5 by 40 bolt through. We'll do our bearing stack. So shim, flange down, flange up, shim, and then get the right top, and the right top will have the two M5 holes. Push that together. Turn around this way. We're going to put our one end that has the goes the right direction, has the bolt hole at the top and the M5 at the bottom. And I'm showing you the wrong screen. Once again, we're holding it like this. We've got our heat set at the top with the bolt hole at the top and the M5 nut at the bottom. You want to pull this out gently without knocking the stack completely out of whack. Slide this over the top, and I just dropped my stack. Darn it. This is what I hate. This is the part that I always fight, is getting my bearing stack in there and keeping it in place while I pull the bolt out and then put the clamp on. And I did it again. All right, how many times can Luke build a bearing stack before he gets it done? Well, if I do it like this, I can keep said bearing stack under tension and pressure. All right, we did it. We did it. I think I figured out the trick now. Now we're going to check our work again, and hopefully our work is good. So we're going to put in our piece from the front here. And okay, we have this at the top. We have a screw at the top. Our bearings at the top. We've got the 5 and M5 at the top and the M5 and M3 at the bottom. So good bearing stack. One down, one to go. The next one, we're going to take the M3 and M5. So M3, M5. That goes at the bottom. We'll bring our M5 by 40 up through the slot. We'll build our bearing stack. So shim, flange to the shim, flange to the sky, another shim, and then the other piece. And what I'm going to do is bring that bearing stack all the way to one side. And in this case, going towards the front. Then I'm going to take my part and looking at it, we've got our hole at the bottom. So we need our hole at the bottom. And we need it with the jut out towards the back, which puts our M5 hole at the top and the M5 nut at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and get this on there, which is a little bit hard because it needs a little bit of clamping force to get there. Now I should be able to pull this out because it's providing some clamping force. Should be able to pull that out. Oh. Ah. Where'd the shim go? Lost the shim. There it is. Found the shim. So close. So close. Hey, Mighty Bean, how are you doing? I need to bundle this video with each kit just to sit there and go, man, this dude has like so many issues trying to get these parts together. And one of them being some print tolerance issues with Chewy's prints. See if that makes it a little bit easier. So I don't have to fight as much, and so I don't throw him on the ground again. Damn, where did that go? All right, well, we'll find a shim later. Should have a couple of extras in here. Get that in there. We'll pull this bolt back out, maybe. Try and keep it as straight as possible as we pull that bolt out. Slide that piece forward. Put our bolt back in. Probably should ream some of these parts ahead of time. Oh yeah, I always have issues with these front idlers. The easiest time I ever had was the pen mod that I did on the salad fork, because you literally install the bottom and then you build up the so you would install the actual bottom into the rail, build your bearing stack with the pins, sit the top part on, mount it, and it makes it so much easier. Yeah. Once again, I've got some parts that are a little tight. They'll work out over time. And these need to move, but they don't need to be like super duper loose, because of the fact that we're going to have tension on them, right? So we'll need a M5 by 40, excuse me, an M3 by 40 and an M3 washer. Before I forget, give me 1 second. I am printing parts in PC ABS behind me, and I heard that print stop. And my motor mounts, which are large prints, warped a bit. So I'm going to have to reprint them one at a time, because I think part of the problem is printing them at the same time. It winds up being like a 12+ hour print. And PC, I mean, you need a really hot chamber. And if you don't have a hot chamber, like preferably it'd be around 70°C, but I'm only hitting like 50-ish C. So screw at the bottom, screw at the top, M5s at the top, and 3 at the bottom, and pulleys at the lower end. So this is the other side idler. Now we're going to start working on our motor mounts. And you want the set that's got the cutout in the front edge here. This is where your wires are going to go from your cable chains, and then this is where your cable chains will mount. Yeah, that's the only real issue that I have is with the front idlers. I always knock them out. So we need M5 by 30s. And the 3 countersunk holes here will be the mounting holes for the motor. So we're putting an M5 by 30 here and one back here. And these screw holes are somewhat tight. Probably should ream these. So that's where your 2 bolts are going to go. And then you're going to flip this part over and build your bearing stacks. So once again, we'll grab our bearings. Oh, it's like I'm missing bearings. No, I'm not. I got the other one over there. So we'll grab some bearings and we'll use our shims. Get our piece oriented in the same way. So this one is going to be our double bearing stack. So it'll be shim, flange side down on the bearing, bearing with the flange side up, and then 2 shims. 1, 2, flange down, flange up, and another shim. And the other side is just going to be a single, so we'll do a shim, bearing down, bearing flange side up, and another shim. Then we're going to take the mating part and slide it on there. Okay, and we're going to have to tighten these holes, or these holes, tighten these screws in, and we're screwing into plastic. So all we're trying to do is close the gap on these. So don't over tighten because you're going into plastic. Just close the gap. And make sure that your bearings are all moving. Okay. Now we're going to do our motors. So we need a couple more motors. There's one. And I believe he supplied a couple. So let me grab the other one out of here. So these are the exact same. All right, folks, bear with me a second. I'm swapping two of his motors out for mine because they're different. Model numbers, and I just want to make sure that I'm using all the same model numbers in this build. 1504XS1. Okay, so we're going to need a GT2 20-tooth pulley. Complete with grub screws, so we'll need to make sure that we don't lose those. And what's our little trick? Use a paper towel. Things don't tend to bounce too much on a paper towel. Hey, Da Vinci, how's it going? Because we'll be doing grub screws, we are going to need our Loctite. I've been using the Loctite stick after seeing Steve Bilge use one. I like it a lot better than the liquid because it's easier to get in and stay in without making a big mess, and you don't have to like squirt some out on a plate or something and then wind up losing a lot of it because you can't use it all. I'm just going to get the grub screw started. I mean, if you've got the liquid, then use it. Don't go out and buy something new. But when it comes time to refill, possibly get the stick. This little paste stick has lasted me through 7 or 8 builds already. So we can tell that our pulley is going to be facing up so that the thicker part with the grub screws are going to be down. So just get that started, and we're going to need our pulley guide, and we're doing our A drive, so we're going to use the A side of the pulley. And all we're going to do is we're going to set that on there. We're going to line that pulley up in that, or the printed part up in that gap of that pulley. And then we'll lock the pulley in, going against the flat side first. And then the round edge. Double check. Everything's lining up, so we're good. So there's the A motor done. We'll come back to that for the B motor here in a minute. And we're going to install this in a certain way. So make sure you orientate your part right. There's the cutout. That's the direction you want the motor wires to go to. So it's going to mount on there like this. And we're going to use 3 M3x30 bolts. Oh, he's getting his haircut now? Yeah, he was having his haircut for charity, right? You want to make sure that these are pretty tight. Once again, you don't want to crack the part. And then this is the part that could be a little disconcerting, is you're going to check your work by looking at it from the back. So the pulley on the right is high, then you've got your two pulleys on the left, and you want to check that the pulley and the drive pulley are at the same. They should be lined up. Okay? So this is your A motor, which is the right side motor. So we'll just kind of set that over there with the idler in front of it. We're going to start working on the other one next. So get our orientation right. We're going to need 2 of our M5 by 30 bolts. And again, they're going to go in there. Leave your 3 bolt holes for the countersunk bolt holes for your motor mounts. You're going to flip it over. Orientate it like that so it's facing you. And we're going to need to do some more bearing stacks. Once again, we'll start with the corner edge here. Shim. Bearing flange down. Bearing flange up. 2 more shims. Bearing side down. Bearing slide up, or flange slide up, with another shim. The next side is shim, flange side down, flange side up, shim. Make sure you've got rollers, so 2 on the left, 1 on the right. Line the top up. Going to squish it together, and then use your M3 to snug down your M5 screws. Once again, you're going into plastic, so just go until you feel the tension change, and that tells you that your screw head's bottomed out. And you'll stop. Okay? Now we're going to get our other motor set to go. Get our scrub screws, a little bit of Loctite on it. Let's get these started. Got our grub screw started. We're going to grab another one of our motors. And once again, when we mount it, you'll have to be cognizant of which way you're mounting it. The pulley goes on with the tooth part down and the thick part with our set screws towards the top. So get that on there, make sure it's lined up. Now we're going to use the B side, or the smaller side, to set our gap. We'll go just like that, get our gap set. I'm going to set this down because it'll make it a little bit easier for me. Once again, there's your B motor pulley set. Tighten it on the flat, and tighten the other one. We'll grab 3 more of our M3x30s. And once again, our motor wire will go away from this edge towards the long edge. Get that lined up. Drop in our bolts. And tighten the motor on. These Strides Minis. Yes, I am working on a different printer build today. This is a Voron 2.4 build that I'm building for one of my subscribers, Chewy. He sent me all the parts, or the vast majority of the parts, and then I got the rest from KB3D. And I'm going to build this for him, and then he'll come and pick it up from me, or I'll ship it, however he wants me to do it. So that's your B drive. Once again, we'll do our verification, which means turn it around to the back. You'll see low pulley, 2 pulleys, and the pulley and the drive pulley should line up. And so I'm going to build this one for him while he is yeah, he's been doing a lot of overtime work and stuff like that, so he just doesn't have the time to build it. So he's asked me if I could build it on stream. So yeah, I'm building it for him. So we got that part done. Now next up is the gantry. So this is where we take a few more extrusions and we put our A and B drives together with our idlers and make a gantry. So we will be using the generic cable chains on this. So we will be using the 3-hole. Sorry, I keep forgetting to step down my bed temp over here on my other build, or on my on the PCABS parts for the K3 build. So on Saturdays, Strides Minis, I'm building the 2.4 kit for Chewy, and or self-source 2.4 build for Chewy. And then on the weekdays, so Monday, or not Monday, Tuesday and Thursdays, I will be building a Annex Engineering K3. We'll start that build then. Oh, we got ads. I will reiterate that once the ad break's over. Guess it'll help if I plug it in, huh? So at some point, I'm going to get a another TS100, and I'll have one set up for soldering and one that'll be set up as a stealth press because I'm doing so many printer builds with heat sets. But yes, this is a Voron 2.4 that I'm building for one of my subscribers. And then this will continue on Saturdays. And then Tuesday and Thursday evenings when I stream, I will start building the Annex Engineering K3 starting on Tuesday. So right now I'm trying to get all the parts printed that I need to get that build started. I was originally planning on doing the Micron build next, but I gave everybody the option, and since there's a couple of people that have built or are building Microns right now on streams, they asked if I could build the K3. So I was like, sure, why not? Get me going on a complicated build before we get the black box project in from KB3D. So I will be doing one of the first black box full builds based off the new 100% bomb kits from KB3D. So we got those three done. All right, and that's all we needed? Really? Okay. I'll put this back down out of the way so I don't burn myself on it again. The last scar's almost healed from it. And because the Annex Engineering is, I'll say, not a high temp build, but it can do high temps, I'm starting off building it with PC ABS parts. So because it's a PC blend, it prints a little bit easier, but it's still not the easiest, and it's very warped or prone warp. Yeah, prone to warp. God. Okay, I need 2 M5 nuts on the top and the bottom. And the holes on your rolling T-nuts will be facing towards the end. So I have a feeling those are going to happen. So because these, so this is being built using a frame from Tensor 3D. It is a B-stock frame. It is a GNOME B-stock frame. The channel depths are deep. the channels are deeper than they would normally be. So we actually have to be careful, just not be careful, but we just have to, normally you'd roll these T-nuts in and they would stay in place. That's not going to happen right now because of the B-stock frames. So we'll work around that. We will work around that. And these are going to go on and be put together with M5x10s. Because the channels are a little off or a little too deep, the rather than the T-nut sitting flush, sometimes they go in an angle, and if they go in an angle, they don't bite well enough, or they don't line up appropriately in the channel. That's why I said we just have to play with them a bit. Now, I used one of these frames to build a Trident and a 2.4 already, so I'm confident that these frames work, or that these frames work. So I'm not concerned about them not being good and giving bad results. They work. You just have to fiddle with them a little bit more than you normally would if you were using like an LDO Motors frame or something with Masumi frames. Kind of one of those things of just know what you're getting in for, and you should be able to work your way around it with little issues. This particular T-nut is just being a pill. There we go. We've got the one side in, we got the other side in. Now what we want to do is, you'll notice that there's a big gap here and there's almost no gap here. I want to make that gap the same. There needs to be a bit of a gap. So, and we'll fix this later on once we get it in the actual printer frame. Right now, we just want to make sure that there's a bit of a gap. We did that side, and then the other side, I'm just going to flip it over and work with my T-nuts again to get those in there and locked in. Like I said, it's just a matter of knowing how you need to work with them. Makes it a little bit more of a pain, but not to the point where it's not doable. What's everybody else doing on this fine Saturday morning? I know Pez Liz is chilling out and watching all the Smurf posts. Yes, this is a Voron 2.4 build. So, if you're not familiar with the Voron 2.4s, so over in the corner, this is a trident, and the trident is a triple lead screw. Probably have to open this up to kind of show it out. So the trident, we have a lead screw in the two front corners and one in the center back. On the 2.4, which are these next two machines, we've got belt-driven gantry at the two front corners and the two rear corners. So you can do what we call quad gantry leveling on the 2.4. And what that does is ensure that your plate is flat in relation to your print head. And we're going to do that by using Voron Tap, which is a nozzle probe system. And yeah, so that's how we'll set that up. I know that was way, way high level. But on a trident, you have the triple lead screw, and it'll go through and it'll tap by those three lead screw areas and be able to create a plane that's make the bed planar to the movement of the print head. And in that case, the print head gantry is fixed. On the 2.4, the bed is fixed and the entire gantry goes up and down. So in essence, what you're doing is you're probing all four corners by those Z motors, and then you're able to get the gantry itself level to the bed. Okay, now I need my other two long lengths, and we're going to put our other linear rails on them. So we'll need 2, 4, 6, 8. I think we're going to do 10. These are M3. So we'll do M3 rolling T-nuts. We'll do 5 pointed this way and 5 pointed that way. And we'll figure out spacing here in a minute. So somewhere down the line here too, we're going to build, so this is a 300 by 300 size. So this is the same size as the Trident and the other 2.4s behind me. And at some point I do have a 350 size Trident to build. So that'll be another build that we'll do. And that one actually is from Deep Fried Heroes, where I got the kit from. And it has a 6-cart Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder, which is the Voron version of a multi-material unit. So we will have that to build as well down the road. So these are MGN 9s. These are LDO motors. We've already lubed these motors up, so they are nice and well lubricated. Sliding real nicely. Now the one thing you're going to want to do is take your end stops and move them from the end to the second hole. Because you're going to start off mounting these at the end hole. And then once again, it doesn't matter where you start this. We'll figure out the end gaps. All we're going to do is line up our M3 T-nuts for every other hole. And we'll set that right over the top. And we're going to take our M3 by 8. And because we are metal screws through metal rails into metal T-nuts, we're going to use our Loctite because there's no printed parts, so there's no chance of a printed part having a bad reaction and cracking over time. Hey, Shenanigans, welcome on in. Welcome on in. And for right now, we're just getting these started. We're not going to tighten these down. We're just going to get them all started, and basically so the heads of the bolt is beneath the rails so that we can slide our carriage back and forth. Like I said, we'll work on the side-to-side location here after we get both of these prepped. We're just going to work on getting both rails initially mounted and snug down. So how are you doing this morning, Shenanigans? Just got coffee. Nice. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. The kind of pulsing in the periphery of my right eye has gone down a lot today. So that's working pretty good. I do need to keep an eye on the time though, because I do need to go and put another round of eye drops in. So I might have to put you guys on a Be Right Back stream to go do that. So where'd you go, you? Yeah, so I had surgery to remove a cataract in my right eye, and I will have the left eye done on Wednesday. So Mrs. Dragon is out of town at the moment. She went on a trip on Tuesday. So Evil Diesel was nice enough to take me to the surgery for my right eye, and I will be going and picking up Miss Dragon tonight. And I'm going to drive out to the airport, and she'll drive home, just so I'm not straining my eyes too much, because I haven't been driving and I haven't driven in the night since my surgery. But we'll get there safely and we'll get back. And then she'll go with me on Wednesday when I have the other eye done. Yeah. Sucks getting old. Once again, there we go. We've got that in there. We'll do the next one, and then I will take a break and go and put some more eye drops in. Got to stay on schedule for those. There we go. Oh, hey, Aaron. Sorry I didn't see you pop in there. Welcome in, welcome in. I saw that you have Pandora done. and she's fully enclosed and like literally all done. Just you're starting to do all the tuning and stuff on her. Salad fork is fully enclosed now. Um, I've got the 4010 fans mounted for the controller cooling. They're not wired up yet, but they're mounted. I still need to print off and mount the uh those words are hard. The Nevermore. Still need to mount Nevermore. And then it'll be fully done. And once I do that, I'll start printing some ABS to kind of break in the ABS. But the thing I like is, so like my Voron 2.4, it's getting in the mid 40s down around the build plate because I just have a one of those standard cheapo thermistor humidity sensors, you know, little round puck ones. I have one of those basically like sitting right here in this motor well. So at that height, I'm getting about 45 C during prints, and that's with the PCABS. And I am seeing some warping on some larger pieces. But I do know when I was doing PCABS on Bubblegum Dragon, which Free Heathen opened up on stream yesterday, I was getting like 55, 56 C in the chamber temp. And the chamber temp on that V02 was on the Pico umbilical board, so it sits kind of right in the back center of the printer. So that was pretty nice. So I'm thinking doing the larger PCABS prints on the salad fork may be worthwhile. And we have an ad break in progress. Okay, so we have these both mounted. I'm going to come back and we'll set the distance on them, and then I'll go ahead and start locking them down using our printed alignment jigs. But I'm going to put you guys on a Be Right Back stream and go on mute real fast because I have to wash my hands and then put eye drops in. So I will be back in just a couple of minutes. Please bear with me, folks. Sorry about that. I thought I had it done. Welcome on in, Papa Bear AZ and Hybrid Robotics. So I'm sitting here talking to myself about how to torque these down. Apparently, there is a torque figure that you would be looking for, which is 3 Newton meters, according to the K3 manual, for metal on metal on metal. So yeah. Get these lined up and centered. There we go. So once again, we start in the center and we're just going to snug these down. Working our way from the center outward. And like I was saying, I did learn that according to the Annex K3 build, when I start to build that they actually have torque figures for all the screws. And whether or not you're going into plastic or going into metal, it's going to be a different torque figure. So I keep looking like, do I get a Newton meter torque screwdriver? And unfortunately, I would wind up having to get 2 different Wera types if I get the Wera, and they're like $100 each. I don't think I'm going to do that. I may have to go to cheapo, like Chinesium one. I don't think I can get away with $200 for 2 screwdrivers. I think Mrs. Dragon may have my butt if I do that. If it was for the airplane, I could probably get away with it, but for 3D printers, that's not going to happen. Okay. So our 2 Y rails are done. All lined up and pretty. We've got our 25 millimeter gap. And now we're going to flip them over and we're going to put M5 T-nuts on each end. And it's probably going to tell me to flip it over and do it on the top too, and we're not going to do that just yet. M5 and M5. M5 and M5. And M5 is the other direction. Yeah, unfortunately, shenanigans, I haven't checked, but Mrs. Dragon has a tendency to lurk in my streams, especially when she's out of town. And I don't see her lurking right now, but Yeah, let's just say I've got some things coming from Chris that are for testing purposes. You know, a Revo Roto, a couple of Orbiter 3s with filament, the Smart Orbiter 3s, a Leviathan, some 5160 drivers for the K3. Give me 1 second, I need to pull these prints. So the other thing I'm doing on these PCABS prints, when I pop them off, is I'm putting them over here in the 0G Mercury 1. So let me do this. So I'm popping them off here in the Voron, and I'm putting them up here in the 0G Mercury 1. And this bed has been sitting here at 60C for like a day and a half. Okay, I think I'm back, but I'm also seeing a whole bunch of drop packets. And that would be my internet service provider. So sorry about that, folks. Hopefully whatever it is calms down. And I know what it is. It is my internet service provider now. I've dropped down to 1080p and 30 frames so I could get as best stream capability as possible. But I am seeing a decent amount of drop frames. It looks like it is coming back down. So, but it's my internet service provider and my upload speeds. They really need to get more people moved over into fiber in the city so that it frees up more bandwidth for us folks on the outer edge. So we put T-nuts on the back. They want us to put T-nuts on the, so let me rephrase that. These are the T-nuts that will be on the top. The ones where the rails are will be on the bottom side. And if I roll these, chances are these are going to fall out. However, I will have the ability to put these back in. So what I'm going to do is help them fall out. We'll flip back over to the other side, which is where they're going to tell me to put in an M3 on the inside and an M5 on the outside. And I'm doing that because I'll be able to get in and get those in the right way. So an M3 and an M5. I don't think I'm going to run into a problem. So I put in a lock nut at the very end of these, or lock nut. I put in a T-nut at the end, and that's going to interfere with the T-nuts that I have to put in now. So we're going to take this stopper off, and we'll move the end T-nuts in one. And it won't really make too much of a difference because we won't be out here on this outer edge. at much, that much at all, if any, other than I'll say doing like homing sequences. Where did that other part go that I just dropped? There it is. So it's not going to be detrimental at all. We'll have to do this at both ends. We'll pull that out. We'll slide this further in using a non-metallic object will help. Or not non-metallic, but a non-magnetic object. And that will allow me to get my M3, then M5 in here, because it will go up underneath. So if we weren't using the roll-in T-nuts because they're a longer length, so to speak, if we had a different type of T-nut, it wouldn't be an issue. Everything Plus Ultra, how's it going? Yeah, you just have a couple of things to close up on. Aaron, I know how that goes. There's always something that needs to be fixed or fiddled with just a bit. Da Vinci, welcome again, welcome again. Once again, all I'm doing is taking the one out of the very end and moving it over one, because I need T-nuts to go a little bit deeper in the channel. Of an M3 and an M5. Give me a second and I will get you some points. Let's say I haven't seen Mod Light or KB3D in here yet. They're my two mods. Either one of them would be able to get you some points, but I'll get you some points here in a second. Bear with me. Then we'll get an M3 in there and then an M5. Right. There you go. You got a few points to play with now, everything plus ultra. And I'm telling you, mods are slacking. Okay, so this is basically the bottom of your Y rails. So we've got those ready with our M3 and M5s. And we've got the, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of stops back in here so I don't stand a chance of letting my carriages and balls loose, because that would be bad. And then this would be the bottom side. And this is where we're going to start. So we're going to take this one, which we're going to set our y-axes kind of like that. So this would be the top side, but since our rail is rolled over, right, it shows our axis going like this with both M5s up. And because we've got our rail rolled over right now, we're going to take this and we're going to roll it to the side. So we'll have the M3 and the M5. And we're going to slide this on the end. And if it doesn't slide on, easy enough to fix. Just loosen up that M5 bolt a little bit. And that should let you open up your end a little bit. Slide that on and get your M5 and M3 T-nuts lined up. And we're going to use really. We don't do the bottom yet because the bottom is where we start with our things, but I'm going to have to. So bear with me as I dig forward here a little bit. But hey, there we go. That's what I'm going to need. Trucks go in the back. 5 and 3. So M5 by 30 and M3 by 30. M3 by 30 and 5 by 30. So we're going to have to do some weirdness here. Bear with me while I find the right parts. Go further. That's that. That's that. That. So once again, because of I'll say our actual mounting block pieces, or not our mounting blocks, but because of our screw holes, um, screw holes, because of the T-nuts that we are using and the frames being loose, I'm having to do some things out of order, simply just to make sure that our pieces will stay on and not fall off. So let's take an M5 and an M3. And then we'll have to come back and revisit these, but that's doable. Dang it. We'll revisit these. It won't be too long before we'll revisit them, but we will have to revisit these slightly. Whoop. We will work on those in a minute. M5 and M5. So we'll need one of our M5 plates. Sorry, I know I'm jumping around. I think I'll just fight with the M3 and M5 later. We'll just keep following this. So we'll need M5 by 16s. We're going to go through the top. Let's get these lined up. Make sure on your printed part that you've got a flat side and then the side that the belt will grab hold of. You want that side down, and the notch side. Yeah, there's a notch on one side. That's going to be facing out. And that's going to let the belt come in and around. We're just going to lock these in place right now. We're not going to ug-a-dug on them down. We're just getting them loosely locked in place. and you want it flush up with the edge, which we are. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing over on this side. Like I said, we're just going to have to fight with those later on. We'll flip it over. We'll do the 2 and 5s at the top. Nice flush. Line up our screw holes. And 5x16s. Hey, Miss Dragon, what's up? What's up with the point giveaway? I see people gambling, teaching the wrong skills. Uh-oh. Now I'm going to get in trouble. Going to add one of our plates. Same thing. The slight indent goes towards the part. The outer indent goes out, and grab one that I shouldn't have to deburr the edge on. How's it going, Mrs. Dragon? Are you having a good final day of your trip? That Okay, there we go. Flush with the front. Did the right side, we did the left side. Now we're going to do them back here at the back end. And this is where it may be wise to have a box or something that you can set things on. And we'll need some more M5s back here. Let's see what I need. To work some. Okay, so what we're doing here, and I'll rotate this around. Is we've got this in the back. Once again, we're flushing it up with the end of the printed part. We're getting our M5 holes lined up. We'll do it on the other side as well in a minute. We're going to just take one side at a time. Once again, we're going to use our printed pieces with the M5 holes at the top. And the notch goes towards the outside again. We need some M5x16s. And I told you Mrs. Dragon comes in and lurks and checks in on me when she's out of town. When she's here, she doesn't. But when she's out of town, she does. To be doing yard work, but instead you're prepping extrusions. Well, good. We call that priorities. Okay, so that one's on. Now we're basically going to do the same thing on the other side. So we'll flip this around the other direction. We'll bring this up here. We'll put in a couple of M5s. Use that to hold it up a little bit more, but probably not. Make sure you're flush with the end of the printed part. Line up your M5 T-nuts. Grab another one of your belt clamps and 5x16 screws. Thing Plus Ultra. Okay, so those are in there now. We've got the top sides installed. We'll set this aside. We'll come back and deal with the M3s and the M5s on the other side as soon as we're done with these next pieces. Let's leave these over here. Hopefully we'll be able to work around our gantry. I'll flip this upside down. I think it'll sit a little bit flatter that way. We need our XY joints. Are those in this box? Or in this box? This bag? Nope. Not in that one either. Where are my XY joints? Uh-oh. We missing a bag? Should be in there. This should all be panels and skirts. And we may be coming to a screeching halt because it does not look like I have XY joints. Darn it. So I don't have the XY joints to put the gantry in. I'm going to have to get those printed. We will go ahead and get the rail mounted though. And this is the engine 12. The right one, or is... Bear with me, folks. Yep, that's got to be it. Don't think the uh, I don't think the XY joints for the salad fork will fit on here, will they? Exactly. Just wait until they're all gone. It'll be fine. Okay, so I think we're sort of set up here. Let me make sure. We'll keep going with what we can. We won't be able to get our XY gantry completed today because I'm going to need to print some parts. But we'll get what we can done and we'll come back and do those. We'll have those ready for the next session. Miss Dragon, do you want to gamble? Because if you want to gamble, I can give you some points to gamble with. Yeah, luckily we don't have too many leaves here. At our property, we've got a lot of pine needles, but not a lot of leaves in our yard. Got quite a bit across the street, but they don't make it into our yard. Get enough points, you get another 3D printer. Or if you get enough points, printers disappear. What? Does that just mean you get to banish another one over to Eel Diesel's house? This is MDN 12, so we're going to use the bigger ones. Once again, these will line them up on the extrusion. We need to get our end-to-end depth still, which was, I believe, 15 millimeters. So same thing that we did before. We stick the depth gauge up against the end and we push the rail down until the other, so I put this piece up against the linear rail and this line up with the extrusion. We push it through and that gives us our perfect 15 millimeter depth. Now we're there and we're going to go ahead and lock in our center screws, just snugging them up. We're just going to make sure that everything snugs up. come back and give it some ugga-duggas. So we're locking ourselves into these rails. We've got that set now. Right, now it's going to tell me to, mount our XY. And drop it in and make a full gantry. And then we'll flip it over and start working our belts. So folks, I think that's going to be it for the stream. Like I said, I need to print off the these parts right here, the XY joints. Shouldn't take that much to get those printed out. And I will try and check and see if there's anything else that I'm missing that I'm going to need to keep going. So as I continue to look around back here to see what all I got. And I feel like I'm missing I may be missing another one of these as well, which is the 5 and the M5 and the M3. I've got, well, no, I've already installed one here. The one here would, no, so I've got those. Got the X trucks. The Z trucks. Those one's already installed. We need 3 more, so it looks like there's a spare there. Yeah, so it looks like I'm going to have to print off a few things in order to continue on the Chewy build. Mrs. Dragon, be nice. No sending parts away yet. Actually, there were some things I hope were showing up today, and apparently they're not showing up until tomorrow. So, but we will go ahead and continue working on the Chewy build next Saturday. Yeah. And then what? Then I don't know. Tuesday and Thursday, we will start building our Annex Engineering K3. So we'll most likely get the frame done on let me go over here to the full display. So the Annex Engineering K3. Now this is the assembly manual for Rev 1.1. We're actually building Rev 1.2, but there's no assembly manual yet for 1.2. So we're going to have to use the 1.1 and the CAD and probably figure some things out along the way. Okay. This is where we'll be working with this manual as much as possible until a new one comes out. This gives us the introduction in the printed parts and how to print the printed parts out. For the most part, it's Voron specs. The one thing that seemed to differ is they called out using 0.6 layer width for the infill. I just kept it as the 0.4 and did the standard Voron settings. Awesome, Hybrid Robotics. So you got your new printer in? Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, the Ender 3 V3KE is one of the 2 latest ones that they just came out with. So that's pretty nice. Now it does make a comment here that says, before embarking on the printing process, it's important to take note of the following variations. There's both M5 and M6 build sizes, or not build sizes. You can use M5 or M6 holes on the extrusions, and that would change and determine what parts you print. Now, all of the bolts that I opened up last night were M5. There were no M6s whatsoever. I haven't even looked at the extrusion. Let me grab the extrusions. I'll be slightly annoyed if I grabbed, or if all the bolts were M5 and then it was M6 on the extrusions, but the extrusions that we'll be using, we switch screens so you can see them. It's going to be a space gray frame. So I'll go ahead and open this up. Open one of these up, possibly. I say space gray. I don't think it's called space gray, but it is a gray frame. So it's a nice like silver gray frame. And the ends, yes, these do look like proper extrusions that are properly tapped for M5 versus M6. You normally have to go M6 if you self-sourced and got like the Tensor 3D frames. You're going to have to do M6 because the holes are 5 or 5.2 as the hole size in the standard ones. But yeah, that's an M5 going in there, no problem. So we will be using the M5s. So I think I was printing out both. I didn't know, so I was just like, print them all out. I might reslice some of the files to get rid of the M6 versions, just to reduce the amount of stuff that I need to print. But yeah, we're good to go there. This is very, very pretty frame. And I will figure out what sizes we need to start with. I believe these 4 right here are, oh, maybe not. I was going to say, I thought these 4 were the main frame corners, but maybe not. But we'll get into this on Tuesday. I'm trying to get everything printed out that I'll need for Tuesday. Which will also mean needing to print some of the parts that are the secondary color. So primary color on this is going to be the Sparta 3D Sparkle Obsidian Black, and the secondary part color is going to be Sparta 3D Sparkle Limebot Green, both in PCABS. This is that torque reference table I was telling you about. This would be kind of cool if I actually had a proper torque wrench or torque screwdriver to do. Yeah, things like the Creality Enders, they have full up test beds. So the printer you get should be built, printed with, and then broken back down enough to put in a box. If I remember right from Sam Prentice's tour, that's basically what happens. It does talk about the blind joints and give you information here on the blind joints and how blind joints work. I may use the Steve Build's idea of adding a washer between the M5 bolt and the extrusion here. And what that does is it fills that gap a little bit more and it prevents your extrusion from rotating when you're tightening it down. So we'll probably do that. I've got plenty of M5 washers to deal with that. We don't need to tap these ourselves. They're already pre-tapped as we just showed. It talks about squaring up the frame and the need to square it up. True. There are printable torque tools, but when you need so many different torque values, it might be worth it just to get an appropriate screwdriver and be done with it. It talks about doing heat sets and how to properly do the heat sets to get them nice and flush. It's important that they're flush. And then we get into doing the frame. Okay. So this is kind of where we'll be and where we'll start. And that's where I thought these were the frame parts, but the large frame parts would have 3 holes. So we'll have to figure out all of our frame parts. They're in 2 different layers in the box. So we'll have to get all the frames out and work through the frames. Okay, and we're back. So that's 2 drops today. It's supposed to be raining, but I don't know if it actually is. But yeah, we're getting ready to call this stream because Windstream feels the need for me to stop streaming. Come on, reconnect. I'm trying to watch the stream over here, and I just realized I'm sitting here going through this manual and not showing you guys the actual manual. That's always helpful. Hopefully y'all are back with me. Sorry about the stream dropping out. This is definitely Windstream dropping on me. So I'll have to call and yell and scream at them about that. But I was sitting there realizing we were talking about the manual. But we'll go through and we'll put together the frame. Right, so we'll get the basic frame done on Tuesday. And we'll probably go through and get the 2 XY rails sets done, which will get mounted to the top of the gantry or the top of the frame. And hopefully we'll start working on building our X and Y gantry. If not, we'll at least have that frame together and we'll come back and we'll start working on building the XY gantries on Thursday. So, yeah, That's kind of where we'll be at on the K3 build. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a pretty interesting build. It'll be something different. So that'll be fun. So with that, like I said, Windstream has now kicked me out enough twice that I had to reconnect manually to the stream. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a contiguous stream on Twitch or if it's now broken into 3 sections. So with that, I'm going to give up for the day. I will have to give Windstream a call on Monday and yell and scream about why they keep jacking up with my internet. Maybe get a technician out here again to look at it. Meanwhile, I'll print the extra parts that I need to for Chewy's 2.4 build so we can get the XY gantry added. We'll make sure that we have the parts necessary to keep going or to get going on the K3. And with that, folks, thank you very much for being here. Sorry that the stream's acting up a bit. Let's try and figure out who we can raid into today. Looks like the Free Heathen is back up and running. Looks like Jerry 3DHP is up and running already as well. Does anybody have any other suggestions? I'm not actually sure who all's up and running. Let me go back and check Twitch Live out. Wow, and that's pretty much my options is the Free Heathen or Jerry. Everybody else is pretty much just streaming Prince. Hey, thanks, Nick. And yes, thank you for wishing Miss Dragon safe travels. I'm definitely looking at getting her home again, and then she'll be home through the new year. If we travel at all, we're traveling together to like go to family dinner for Christmas and stuff. So that'll be fun. And hey, Random Tinker, thank you for coming in and joining us. If I didn't see you earlier when you popped in, thank you for being here. So let's do you guys want to go and see Free Heathen again and see how if we've broken him some more, see how much he's talking about Bubblegum Dragon, or do you want to go over to Jerry 3DHP and see how he's going? Because he should have a few people. Actually, let me pop it. Yeah, he's got a few people he's chatting with. Looks like he's got, is that Rob Mink?
On and off.
Yeah, he's got Rob Mink and a couple other people. I see K2 Kevin over there. So you guys want to go over and see Jerry 3DHP today? All right, Nick, thanks for the response. I will go ahead and get that raid started. If you guys can please go with me over to Jerry with the raid. Thank you once again for being here with me on your Saturday morning for a nice Saturday morning subsector. You don't have an excuse anymore. You can go do yard work now. And like I said, we'll come back together on Tuesday for the K3 build, and we'll get back to Chewy's build next Saturday. Thanks, everybody. See you on Tuesday.